He is not convincing me that this is a music production powerhouse at all. That's kind of epic, actually. Live from the interrogation room, we have Little Downs. This looks interesting. The Nintendo 3DS is a music production powerhouse. I don't know. I'm a little sus about this. Bro, does he have, in the thumbnail, he has the Nintendo DS is greater than the Electron. All right, he's got me on the hook here, dude. That's the level of bait. Yeah, I need to pull like an insurance scam or something. He's like pretending his arm is a mic stand.
I am a gamer. Yeah, I've tried to hide it for a long time, but it turns out that I just cannot stop stomping Koopas, slaying moblins, doing whatever this is. The only reason I even own a Minilog anymore is just so I can play the Brick Breaker game. Essentially, this is becoming a problem, and at this point I am now on such thin spiritual ice that, like many of us really, I am only now 1 or 2 bad decisions away from becoming a gaming YouTuber. Now,
I feel like the whole like playing music on a gaming device thing, I feel like people force themselves to do it, bro. It's like such a terrible workflow. You know, it's such an awful workflow. Like I downloaded the Korg, the Korg one. I downloaded it for my Switch. I haven't opened it since because there's no way, dude. There's no way. It just seems so unfun to work that way.
Obviously, that is the worst case scenario for a human life, and it needs avoiding. So the question then becomes, well, is there a way for me to wean myself away from the abyss of gaming into the other abyss of music production and synthesizer videos? Well, yeah, I think there might be a way, actually, and I think it might have to do with the device that you are looking at right now.
Like, I understand he's getting a good recording doing this, but God, it looks so funny, dude, holding your mic like this. Can you imagine if I constantly held my mic like this? Just like for the entirety of like well, obviously this isn't a 6-hour stream he's doing, but imagine I'm doing a 6-hour stream and I'm just going to do this for the whole 6-hour stream. Like I understand like the challenge of like wanting to make music on random things, but like that actually work that way is insane to me.
The Nintendo 3DS. Hey, that was cool, wasn't it? You like that one? Now, ever since I got this thing, coming up to 14 years ago now, I've put in some frankly embarrassing gamer shifts. We've got your Marios, we've got your Animal Crossings. Oh my goodness, have you got your Pokemon? That is a travesty right there.
525 hours on Pokemon? That's insane, dude. That's insane. I don't even know what to say about that. That's just unfortunate. Like Pokemon, the gameplay of Pokemon is like fucking in 2025. It's terrible. It's just aged so poorly, in my opinion. It's bad. It's really bad. It's just so boring. It's literally just like
right there. 360 actual hours of human life spent on the internet browser.
You know, yeah, 360 hours in the Nintendo browser. Bro's a gooner. He's a gooner for sure. There's no other way to. Come on, what are you doing for 360 hours in the browser, sir? Yeah, exactly. I don't know. What would you be doing on a browser for 360 hours? Can't think of much. Maybe looking up strategy guides, looking up...
Amongst all of this, 2 hours. 2 hours in 14 years on Nintendo 3DS sound.
That's the proper way to do it. Even that's too much, in my opinion.
Just one final comparison. I spent 10 times that much on the friend list, and I can guarantee you it wasn't overflowing. There was not 20 hours of content there. Now, with all this being said, I feel like we've underutilized the Nintendo 3DS Sound app, and it's about time to see whether it can hold up to some actual music production. So let's crack it open. Now, one of the first things I noticed is that I really did make the most out of my 2 hours spent on this app. Here's a message that I or some demon apparently left in 2013. I am watching you. Probably should have been in bed, but go off. Now, given that we're ideally meant to be producing music using this thing in a minute, there's a pretty big question that needs answering in terms of how good actually is the Nintendo 3DS microphone quality?
The touch of downs is crazy, dude. Come on, guys. That's hilarious, but terrible. Come on.
Well, to be honest, it's pure dookie. There's no other way of describing it. It sounds like trash. And anyway, you can only even record for up to, I think, 10 seconds. But nonetheless, you get some kind of fun sound manipulation facilities. You get this one, a bit like a K oscillator, where you can adjust the speed and the pitch.
Well, to be honest, it's still geeky. There's no blood spreading it, it's all slow.
You can reverse audio. You get harmonizers.
He is not convincing me that this is a music production powerhouse at all.
You get some pretty basic reverb, distortion. You get my personal favourites, the buzzer, trumpet, and whistle. Basically, it's an absolute feast of auditory fun. And 3 minutes into the video, I am happy to report that I have found the first cool thing about this, which is that you can actually stack these effects indefinitely. It might not seem that way at first, but every effect that I've shown you up to this point, you can actually bake into the file permanently, essentially destructive editing. And you can do this over and over and over. And that's how I can take a file like this. Reverb, distortion, robot. I quite like the robot. And destructively edit it for 5 minutes straight and turn it into this.
That's kind of epic, actually.
And then this. And then also this. I mean, this is just a waveform at this point, and that's handy because what we're now going to do is just record yourself doing that for like half an hour straight, at which point you then end up with loads of material to take into Ableton and go to Sound Design City. Population, you, and me. Now, one of the favourite pastimes of us Sound Design City slickers is just the old bread and butter, really. You comb through the big map.
Bro, I don't care how perfect my audio would be if I was doing this. It looks fucking stupid, and I don't care how good it sounds, alright? It looks way stupider than how much better it sounds, and I don't want to... I'm not doing that, okay? I would rather take the shitty audio than to have to do this.
Massive audio in front.
Back to the luxury here of a mic stand.
Front of you, there's lots to choose from, and you just clip out some little snippet that you think might make a good drum sound. And often, if you just mess about very slightly with the pitch, maybe the gain or the envelope, you tend to get there. You get some sounds like this, or even this. But for some things, especially kicks, they might need a little more TLC, and in cases like this, you might even need to crack open the Ableton sampler and get your hands dirty with the pitch envelope, filter envelope.
It seems, okay, wait, for a music production powerhouse, it seems like we're, relying a lot on something else here.
Just, tweak those until you get something that sounds right. A bit of saturation and some EQ later, and you've got something that sounds... fine. It's okay.
Music production powerhouse, by the way, guys.
You'll remember that sound from a bit ago that was essentially just a waveform as it was within the 3DS. At least I hope you remember it. It was just a few seconds ago. Well, you throw that in the sampler, and with the tiniest bit of looping, you now have the easiest analog synth ever made. And, well, you can just treat it the way you would any kind of analog synth. It gets sounds like this. Or this. Or this. But that's not all we can do for tonal sounds. Oh no. The streets of Sound Design City are littered with possibilities and crime, but mostly possibilities.
Yeah, the problem with like a 3DS for this is it's like in that middle ground, whereas like a Switch is like quite a bit more advanced. And then like a Game Boy, maybe it could be it could be a tracker and it's utilizing like basic waveforms. I feel like the 3DS is in like this middle ground where it's not super advanced.
For instance, this unassuming little block of audio. That sounds to me like with a little bit of looping, maybe some massaging in the modulation / envelope department. You got a pad there. Nice. Okay. Or how about this little blocker sound? It's a tad noisy, but there's some interesting movement going on there. So we could chuck a bandpass filter on it. Use that to root out a little pitch in the middle. There we go, it's a tonal sound now. A whole lot of tweaking later, and we have this pad.
Okay, that one kind of sounds like dog shit.
Actually, that one's not all that great, is it? Sorry about that. But we do have enough elements for a little electronic 3DS ditty that sounds a little something like this. So wild news, but turns out that with a modern DAW you can turn pretty much anything into electronica, and it feels pretty surreal knowing that I'm the first ever person to discover this. But what I want to try now is a more transparent approach. What would happen if I played it relatively straight and just used the 3DS as a microphone to record music? Well, the biggest issue is going to be that 10-second limit, but I suppose worst case scenario I could just record in fragments and stitch things together. Although
yeah, I'm not hating this. Definitely clickbait AF though, but whatever.
Think of it, I will probably want to do some double tracking, so that's going to be a bit of a nightmare for timing and production. But I am very, very dedicated to my YouTube.
Bro, this is like a fucking, you know when they have like a camera and they're like interviewing somebody who's like committed like a horrible crime or something? That's what this looks like right here.
Craft. Wait, hang on. Have I been recording this section on the 3DS camera this whole time? Yeah, it turns out that the 3DS can record video, and video, as is commonplace really, tends to include sound. What that means is that I can just record each part as a video using the 3DS. And
yeah, interrogation.
I can then grab those video files off the SD card, take the audio off, and just produce it as I would any other track. Let's try it.